I welcome you all to this news analysis initiative. These are the articles that are important from UPSC perspective. Without any further delay, we will move on to the first one. The first article for the day, the story of we, the moving people. At the heart of this article is one big idea. People are moving more than ever, and this movement is changing politics, citizenship, and democracy. Traditionally, citizenship is linked to living permanently in one place. You live in a location, you vote there, you belong there. But today, millions of people move within countries and across borders for jobs, education, marriage, or survival. This movement breaks the old assumption that citizens stay put. Why governments are worried? When people move frequently, some get registered as voters in more than one place. Some don't update their address. Some live away from their home state for years. Because of this, governments fear duplicate voters, non citizens influencing elections, loss of control over electoral rolls. This fear is visible globally. In India, the Election Commission has launched a special intensive revision of voter list starting with Bihar to remove duplicate or outdated entries. In the US, the Trump administration demanded full access to voter databases and pushed for proof of citizenship to vote, triggering protests from states. In both countries, migration is being linked to suspicion about elections. Globally, the share of migrants in the world population hasn't increased much, but the absolute number has nearly doubled from about 154 million in 1990 to over 300 million today. Many developed countries now have large migrant populations. US 15%, UK 16, Canada 22 and Australia 30. So this fuels nativist politics, locals versus outsiders. Now, how the countries are responding. Governments want migrants for labor but not for political power. Rich countries increasingly prefer temporary workers who work but don't settle or gain citizenship. Examples H1B workers in the US, migrant laborers in Gulf countries with no political rights. India, meanwhile, actively encourages people to go abroad for work, often described as exporting human resources. India has 35 million overseas Indians, about 16 million are Indian citizens. Legally, overseas Indian citizens can vote, but only if they are physically present in India. A case in the Supreme Court argues this is unfair and seeks remote voting. Within India, migration from rural to urban areas has grown sharply. Migrants now make up 38% of India's population as per 2011 census. Two-thirds of internal migrants are women, mostly due to marriage. So migration has changed politics. Mumbai's politics shifted as Marathi speakers became a minority there. Parties adapted by fielding candidates from migrant communities. So, the citizenship is being redefined. Migration is even challenging the idea of birthright citizenship. The US is trying to reinterpret the rule that anyone born there becomes a citizen. India has already changed its law. Children born to illegal immigrants do not get citizenship by birth. This shows a global trend. Citizenship is becoming stricter and more conditional. Now, why this matters for India's future? Because migration will affect Census 2027, voter rolls, and delimitation of Lok Sabha seats. States that send migrants like Bihar and those that receive migrants like Maharashtra or Kerala will gain or lose political weight differently. See, people moving across regions and countries is not new. It has shaped languages, cultures, and civilizations for centuries. But today, mass migration is reshaping democracy, citizenship, and political power. The next article for the day, the changing patterns of India's student migration. Earlier, only rich or very bright students went abroad to study, often with scholarships. But now things have changed. Today, middle class Indian families are sending their children abroad by paying huge amounts themselves. hoping that a foreign degree will give better jobs, status, and a better life. What is happening now? Over 13 lakh Indian students are studying in more than 70 countries. The top destinations are the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and Germany. Many students go through private education agents, not government channels. The hidden problem is while it looks like foreign education has become more accessible, the reality is harsh. Many students are sent to low quality colleges and irrelevant courses. Agents and foreign colleges often prioritize commission, not student futures. As a result, students face poor job prospects, underemployment, and de-skilling. For example, in the UK, only 1 out of 4 Indian postgraduates gets a skilled work visa. Many end up working in low pay jobs like care work, delivery, or restaurants. Heavy financial burden. Families spend rupees 40 to 50 lakh per student, often by taking education loans, mortgaging land or houses. Instead of sending money back to India, money flows out of India. This is called reverse remittance. Kerala is a clear example. Student migration doubled in 5 years. Outward spending on student education is now 20% of inward remittances. Benefit to foreign countries. Foreign countries gain a lot. Indian students contribute billions of dollars to their economies. They support universities, housing, local jobs. Then, why do students still go? Because studying abroad is not just about education, it is seen as a path to permanent residency, social mobility, escape from limited opportunities at home. Even when foreign universities open campuses in Asia at lower cost, students still prefer Western countries because of migration and identity aspirations. The big concern is brain waste. Instead of brain drain, losing talent, India is facing brain waste. Educated youth working in unskilled jobs, dreams turning into debt and disappointment. So, what needs to be done? We need strict regulation of education agents, pre departure counseling for students, bilateral agreements to hold foreign colleges accountable, better quality and job opportunities in India. Now, why this is important for UPSC? Because General Studies 2 Diaspora, Migration and Governance, GS3 Employment, Education and Remittances. The next article for the day, Overseas Bill Betrays Migrant Workers. India sends millions of workers abroad every year, especially from states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Kerala. These people work in construction, domestic work, factories, and other hard jobs, mainly in the Gulf and Southeast Asia. They earn money, send it back home, which supports their families and also helps India's economy. Now, the government has brought a new law called the Overseas Mobility Facilitation and Welfare Bill 2025, which is supposed to replace the old Immigration Act of 1983. But the author argues that this new bill actually makes life worse for migrant workers instead of protecting them. So, what is wrong with the new bill? The first is workers lose their own legal power. Earlier drafts allowed migrant workers to directly take legal action against exploiters. The new bill removes this right and makes workers depend entirely on government officials who may be slow or indifferent. Number 2. Weak protection for women and children. Women migrants face high risk of trafficking and abuse. The earlier draft had strong punishments for crimes against women and children. The new bill weakens this by using vague terms like vulnerable groups, which reduces accountability. Number 3. No clear action against human trafficking. Shockingly, the bill does not clearly define or address human trafficking. This leaves migrant workers exposed to modern forms of slavery. Number 4. Recruitment agents get more freedom to exploit. Earlier rules required agents to clearly disclose how much money they charge. Now that transparency is removed. This allows agents to charge huge illegal fees, pushing workers into debt even before they leave India. Number 5. Digital systems replace ground level checks. Physical immigration checkposts are removed. Everything is shifted online. This may help bureaucracy, but poor workers signing contracts through middlemen are left unprotected. Number 6. No responsibility once workers reach abroad. Earlier, recruitment agencies had duties even after workers reach the destination country. Now, these responsibilities are pushed onto government bodies that are already overburdened. Number 7. Surveillance instead of support. The bill creates a large data system to track migrants, but workers' consent and privacy are not clearly protected. Meanwhile, foreign employers face little punishment. Number 8. Poor support when migrants return. Many workers return traumatized, injured, or unemployed. The bill talks vaguely about safe return but does not provide money for skill training or counseling. Migrants deported within 6 months are not even counted as returnees and get no help. Number 9. Too much power with the center. States like Kerala and Uttar Pradesh, which send the most migrants, have almost no rule. Trade unions and civil society groups are excluded. Decisions are taken centrally in Delhi, far from where problems actually happen. So, what is the solution? The author argues that Parliament must fix the bill by giving workers the right to fight exploitation themselves, making recruitment fees transparent, strictly punishing traffickers and exploiters, involving states, unions, and worker groups, providing proper rehabilitation when migrants return. So, India's migrant workers are not just labor exports. They risk their lives and dignity to support families and the nation. The next article for the day, how is the Aravalli range to be protected? The Aravalli range, one of the world's oldest mountain systems, stretches across Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Rapid mining, urbanization and ecological neglect have severely degraded this fragile landscape, prompting sustained judicial intervention by the Supreme Court to protect it from irreversible damage. How do the Aravalli Hills prevent desertification of the Indo-Gangetic Plains? The Aravallis act as a natural ecological barrier against the eastward expansion of the Thar Desert by blocking hot desert winds from Rajasthan, thereby protecting Haryana, Western UP and Delhi, stabilizing local climate and moderating extreme temperatures, enhancing groundwater recharge through fractured rock systems and catchment areas, supporting river systems such as the Chambal, Sabarmati, and Luni, preserving biodiversity, forest cover, and soil moisture. Their degradation accelerates desertification, dust pollution, and water scarcity in the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So, what is the recommendations of the Central Empowered Committee? Following Supreme Court direction, the CEC submitted key recommendations in 2024. They are scientific mapping of the entire Aravalli range across states, macro level environmental impact assessment of cumulative mining effects, absolute ban on mining in ecologically sensitive areas such as wildlife habitats, aquifer recharge zones, water bodies, national capital region. No fresh mining leases or renewals until mapping and impact studies are completed. Strict regulation of stone crushing units, strengthening enforcement against illegal mining. These recommendations form the basis of the court's November 2025 order. Now, why was a uniform definition of the Aravalli Hills necessary? States were using inconsistent and diluted definitions enabling mining through legal loopholes. Different agencies followed conflicting criteria like height, slope, buffer zones. The Forest Survey of India earlier definition was contested for being either too broad or too exclusionary. To resolve this, the Supreme Court constituted an expert committee which finally adopted a uniform scientific definition classifying hills above 100 meters as part of the Aravalli range. This ensured legal clarity, consistency across states, and stronger environmental protection. Has the Supreme Court completely banned mining in the Aravalli range? No. The Supreme Court has adopted a calibrated regulatory approach. New mining leases and renewals are passed. Existing legal mining may continue under strict regulation, permanent prohibition in ecologically critical areas, directed preparation of management plan for sustainable mining to identify no-go zones, define regulated mining areas, assess carrying capacity, lay down restoration and rehabilitation norms. The court avoided a blanket ban to prevent the rise of illegal mining syndicates and sand mafias. So, protecting the Aravalli range is vital for climate stability, water security, and desertification control in northwestern India. This also reflects sustainable environmental governance aligned with India's international commitments under the UN Convention to combat desertification. See, regarding this insurance sector 100% FDI, we have seen in detail in yesterday's analysis, so I'm skipping this article. And regarding replacing MNREGA bill also we have seen in detail in yesterday's article. The next article for the day, Prasar Bharati drafts policy to monetize television OTT content. Prasar Bharati, which runs Doordarshan and Akashvani, that is All India Radio, has put out a draft content syndication policy 2025 and invited public feedback on it. In simple words, the government wants to share and sell its TV, radio, and digital content more widely while still keeping its role as a public service broadcaster. According to Information and Broadcasting Ministry, the idea is to earn revenue from the huge amount of content Prasar Bharati already has, promote Indian culture inside and outside the country, ensure that public interest and national responsibility are not compromised. Now, what content can be shared or monetized? The policy allows monetization of programs made by Doordarshan and Akashvani, archived content, old national and regional programs, digital only content on Prasar Bharati's OTT platform, live coverage of government events, festivals, and sports. What is the bigger goal? The policy encourages partnerships with Indian and foreign platforms so that Indian public broadcasting content reaches more people. India's culture, language, and heritage get wider global exposure. Prasar Bharati becomes financially stronger without depending only on government funding. The next article is this. The Railway Minister has informed Parliament about the progress of Kavach, India's indigenous train safety system, and its impact on reducing railway accidents. Kavach is an Indian made automatic train protection system. In simple words, it is a safety shield for trains. Its main purpose is to prevent train collisions by automatically stopping or slowing down trains if there is a danger, such as two trains coming too close, a train crossing a signal at danger, human error by the driver. So, even if a mistake happens, Kavach steps in to prevent accidents. How much of Kavach is ready now? Kavach has been fully commissioned on over 2000 km of railway tracks. This is part of a much larger expansion plan. To make Kavach work, railways had to lay 7,129 km of optical fiber cable and install 860 telecom towers. And they should also connect 767 stations to data centers. So this shows that Kavach is not just a device but a huge digital and telecom network. Now, why is Kavach called complex? It is complex because it combines signaling, telecom, GPS, and automation. It needs real-time data exchange between trains, tracks, and control centers. Around 40,000 railway staff have to be specially trained to operate and maintain it. Has it made rail travel safer? Yes. Consequential railway accidents have dropped by nearly 90%. Accidents reduced from 135 in 2014 to just 11 now. So, this shows that technology based safety systems are working. So, what about railway station redevelopment? The minister explained that redeveloping stations while trains are running is extremely difficult. Some countries shut rail services for 3 to 4 years during redevelopment. But India cannot do that because 7.5 crore passengers travel daily. So, India is upgrading stations slowly under the Amrit Bharat Station scheme. using a phased long-term approach without stopping train services. So why is this important for UPSC? Because GS paper 3 infrastructure, transport and technology. And example of indigenous technology Atmanirbhar Bharat and use of technology to improve public safety, and it is a good case study for governance and innovation. This is a very important article. Indian Coast Guard ship Sarthak makes first port call at Iran's Chabahar. See, India's Coast Guard ship visited Chabahar port for the first time. This shows India's growing presence in the region and its ability to keep sea routes safe, especially for trade and supplies going towards Afghanistan and Central Asia. The visit also fits with India's broader vision of promoting safe, cooperative, and inclusive maritime activities with regional partners. Now, why this matters? Because of the strategic location. Chabahar helps India access Afghanistan and Central Asia without relying on Pakistan. The second is the maritime security. It signals India's role in securing sea lanes and supply chains. Number 3, foreign policy vision. It supports India's Sahar and Mahasahar approach, that is security and growth for all in the region. In short, it is a small naval visit with big strategic and diplomatic significance. The next article for the day, pilot bodies complain to House panel on corruption in DGCA and Ministry. Before the parliamentary panel, pilot bodies made serious allegations. The first is the deep-rooted corruption. Pilots allege that corruption exists at every level within the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the DGCA. The second is the regulatory favoritism. Questions were raised on how the DGCA allowed Indigo to add 10% more flights to its winter schedule without checking if they had enough pilots to follow the new safety norms. Number 3, rule misinterpretation. Pilots argued that airlines often twist rules to keep pilots flying longer, compromising safety for profit. So this is very useful for GS2 governance and GS3 infrastructure and transport, and it can also be quoted in answers on institutional corruption, regulator independence and labor welfare. We will see this article once the trade pact has been signed. The next article for the day, US labels Venezuela government a terrorist regime, orders blockade of oil tankers. The US President Donald Trump has announced very tough new action against Venezuela. He has ordered a complete blockade of oil tankers that are connected to Venezuela. This means oil ships are not allowed to enter or leave Venezuela if they are under US sanctions. At the same time, the US has labeled Venezuela's government under President Nicolas Maduro as a foreign terrorist organization. Now, why is the US doing this? According to the US, Venezuela's government is using oil money to finance illegal activities. The US accuses the Maduro government of links to terrorism, drug trafficking, and human trafficking. So, what does an oil blockade mean? Oil is Venezuela's lifeline. More than 90% of Venezuela's export income comes from oil. Blocking oil tankers means Venezuela cannot easily sell oil. Foreign buyers may fear punishment. The country will face severe economic stress. From this article, possible discovery of dark matter sparks debate, experts urge caution. There are two important terms, that is WIMP and gravitational lensing. Okay. In physics and astronomy, WIMP, WIMP stands for weakly interacting massive particle. It is one of the leading candidates for dark matter, the mysterious substance that makes up about 27% of the universe but doesn't emit or reflect light. So what makes a particle a WIMP? The name itself describes the particle's three primary characteristics. Weakly interacting, it doesn't feel electromagnetism or the strong nuclear force. It only interacts via gravity and the weak nuclear force. This is why it can pass through you, the earth and entire stars without being stopped or noticed. The second is the gravitational lensing. So gravitational lensing is nature's cosmic magnifying glass, where gravity bends light and reveals hidden parts of the universe. See, imagine space like a soft rubber sheet or a trampoline. When you place a heavy ball like a galaxy or a cluster of galaxies on it, the sheet bends. Now, if light from a faraway star or galaxy travels across this bent sheet, its path curves. So instead of coming straight to our eyes, the light bends around the heavy object. So because of this bending, the distant object may look bigger, it may look stretched and curved. So this bending of light by gravity is called gravitational lensing. And the next is the places in use. The first is the Pamir Mountains. The Pamir Mountains are located in the heart of Central Asia, primarily in Tajikistan, though they extend into Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, China, and Pakistan. It is often called the roof of the world. They form a central knot where several of the world's highest mountain ranges meet. In this article, the Dangrek Mountains was specified. The Dangrek Mountains are a low mountain range that forms a natural border between Thailand and Cambodia. The Dangrek Mountains are as famous for their history and politics as they are for their geography. The Priya Vihar Temple, this 11th century Khmer temple in UNESCO World Heritage Site, is on this cliff. It has been the center of long-standing territorial disputes between Thailand and Cambodia. That's all for today. Thank you all for joining.